my god, finally! Now, after all of that, I'm sure that a lot of you think that I'm gonna be naming this the new Best My Hero Academia opening, but honestly, despite how much love it gives Tooru, I think Make My Story falls just a little short of Odd Future. Still, in a series with this many great OPs, second best ain't bad at all, and like the rest of them, the fifth My Hero Academia opening comes jam-packed with some clever symbolism and bits of foreshadowing for the upcoming exam arc. Naturally, that means that any analysis of this opening is going to spoil manga plot points up to the end of the season. If you want to wait to watch this analysis when it's spoiler safe instead of now, I'll be posting a reminder on my community tab once the anime is caught up to what I'm talking about, so make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications to ensure that you don't miss that or any of my future videos. That said, your spoiler warning is officially in effect as of now. From the first frame, there's already a big difference between this and the previous OPs. A lot happens before we even see the title card, all rapidly cut together to the song's funky beat. Like every opening before it, this one starts by showing us the relationship between Deku and All Might. But where in the last one we saw him going off to fight independently from his mentor, and in previous OPs we saw him staring at him longingly, we now see Deku begin to replace him as All Might's ahoge, that's hair spikes for you non-weebs, transforms into the rabbit ears on Deku's mask. From here we cut to Deku's eyes glaring out through a dust storm. This hints at the threats posed by some of the other schools in the provisional license exams, and cues us to pay attention to the eyes of other characters in later shots, which convey a lot of important information. From here we cut to a shot of Class 1A floating above the roof of a building, seemingly frozen in time, while only Bakugo and Todoroki are colored in and able to move. At first glance, this character introduction shot might seem to suggest that there's some kind of upcoming battle with a time-stopping villain, but there's more to it than meets the eye. If you look at the expressions and poses of the classmates floating in the air, it doesn't look like they're in pain or struggling to move like you might expect. Rather, they're frozen mid-celebration, pumping their arms, jumping for joy, and cheering to the sky. That's because this is the moment that they find out they passed their exams. But Todoroki and Bakugo are still stuck on the ground, feeling this fraction of a second stretch out for eternity, because at the end of this arc, their personal failings turn into failing scores on the exams. While all of their friends are being elevated, moving up toward their goal of becoming true heroes, both of these characters have fallen short and turned away from the ideal that they aspire to reach. This failure is hammered home by a cutaway to the eyes of Aizawa, who can prevent them from using their quirks with his gaze, similar to how not having their license limits what they can do as heroes. The camera pulls back and Aizawa turns away, jerking his head as if to say, "Let's go." Deku takes his cue, stepping forward confidently with his fancy new iron-plated boots into the arena of the exam arc. However, before he can take another step, a gust of wind blows back his mask, and with it, the image of All Might that he's been trying to project. This shot reflects that the symbol of peace is now gone, and makes a statement that Deku needs to move forward by himself now, becoming his own man and his own hero instead of a copy of All Might. After a moment of disorientation, Deku fixes his eyes on a literal mountain of enemies before him, all staring down at him with hungry eyes. As a representative of UA, Deku has a big target on his back for this exam, as do all of his classmates. For a bunch of silhouettes, there's an impressive amount of variety in the character designs here. On the left, we've got some kind of mantis man and a dude with a bow staff, as well as a guy who really needs to work on his posture. Up on the right, there are a few dudes with wings who are actually animated and what looks like a member of the Akatsuki. Then on the lower level, we see some sort of lizard snake person, and is that Present Mike? That looks a lot like Present Mike. And then this person brought a horse? Is that allowed? That can't be allowed. For as fast as this moves and as simple as the shot is, Bones could have easily gotten away with generic unanimated silhouettes, but they went the extra mile to make this part feel like part of the show's world, and they deserve props for that. From here, we cut to the title card, which is a title card, but a very slick-looking title card thanks to the moving background behind it, and then to 3 close-up shots of some new characters. There's some sort of robot dude with a creepy smile on his chrome dome, a person with a remote control wristwatch who I think is a girl because very few guys in this show have bare legs, and a person with a Voldemort nose and an even creepier smile. Since these designs don't appear in the manga, it's safe to assume these are some sort sort of anime original characters, either villains who the heroes have to face in a filler fight after the exams, or, this is my bet, other hero students who some of Deku's classmates have to battle in order to pad out the exams a bit. Similar to how Season 2 expanded on a lot of the fights in the sports festival and the battles between students and teachers during the final exams. If I had to hazard a guess as to how these characters operate, I'd predict that the robot is somehow controlled by this wristband, and that the person using the wristband is either partners with the person in goggles, or that's just their face, although I feel like those industrial goggles and beast-like teeth don't quite fit with these lighter clothes and more slender features. Whether they're 1, 2, or 3 new characters though, I'm excited to see what this series does with them. Just like I'm excited to see what happens with those anime original ninja dudes we see fighting Todoroki in the latest episode. Moving on, we see Deku wiping the sweat from his brow with his fancy new arm-bracing gauntlets. This, plus the shot of his boots from earlier, ensure that the new features of his upgraded costume stick in our minds. While he stands there, unsure of what to do, the camera pulls back to show Bakugo and Ida racing past him. Both of them end up leading their own groups of UA students and fighting their own battles, independent from the ones who follow Deku, although everyone passes the first round of the exams in their own way. The rest of the class sprints forward as well, leaving Deku standing, unsure of himself, behind them. Although Deku does get separated from his classmates early in the exams, I don't think this represents that moment, but rather where Deku's at before the exams start. While everyone else charges forward to make their own ultimate moves, he's unsure of how to make one for all his own. It takes a small push from All Might, now stuck permanently in his deflated form, to send him moving in the right direction and help him realize that he was following his mentor's example a little too rigidly. Meaning aside, seeing All Might's buffed up forearm give him the push only to reveal that it was the emaciated Toshinori all along is a brilliant and bittersweet reminder of what was lost during the battle with All for One. The flurry of attacks that follows this is borrowed straight from the random students who attack Deku while he's trying to fend off Shiketsu's Kami. Right after that, the ground explodes and we jump into 2 simple action shots of Todoroki flying through the air on his ice, followed by Bakugo using his explosions to deflect what I think is Seiji's skin-melting quirk. Inasa shoves the Shiketsu logo right up against the camera to ensure that we know what school he's from, before pulling back to pose with his characteristic bravado. The wind that he whips up shows us the nature of his quirk, making a connection to the attack that threw Deku off his game earlier. We see a lot of blowing wind in this OP, an indication of just how powerful a threat Inasa is. Following this, we're introduced to his classmates in the middle of a whirlwind. Kami is the only one of them who won't make eye contact initially, hinting that she's hiding something from us. She poses seductively for the camera before revealing her face and licking her finger. It's a weird pose, and something seems kinda off about her. Her strange behavior catches the attention of her hairy classmate, Nagamasa, whose eye flashes open as the camera tilts up past him to her. It's very subtle, but Kami's odd pose is a reference to her true nature. This isn't the Shiketsu student at all, but rather Himiko Toga using her quirk, which allows her to copy the appearance of people by ingesting their blood, to disguise herself as her. During their brief fight, Toga scratches Deku's cheek with her finger, and as we learn later in the manga, she has some sort of plan for transforming into Deku with the blood that she stole, hence why she licks it off her finger. Seiji looks at us with a disgusted glare, which reflects his attitude of superiority toward less proper heroes like Bakugo. Next, we briefly meet the students of Ketsubutsu, less prominent rivals to UA who nonetheless cause trouble early in the exam. We get a sense for their individual personalities from this group shot. Tatami is very bubbly, Itajiro is a bit shy, and Shikui is more stoic. Special attention is paid to Yo Shindo, who makes a show of being friendly before revealing his more sinister true nature. Shindo's earthquake is what separates Class 1A initially, so it's fitting that we cut from him to a rotating shot of all of them in disarray. This is mostly just another cool character shot, but it is beautifully composed, and the panning rotation effect looks really cool. In the foreground, we see Ida, Todoroki, and Ojiro move in front of Deku, and also, hey look, Tooru! For real this time! I love that they're now using Toru's invisible body to create more interesting shot compositions without blocking out the other characters. It's pretty dang clever. However, Todoroki does block out Deku as he passes him, and the way that this compresses the empty space in front of him subtly pushes our attention to Aoyama on the left side of the screen, who plays an important role in this part of the story. That's hinted at more directly as Deku looks up to the sky, and we see his navel beam shooting upward to pierce the dust cloud. Ultimately, it's Aoyama's use of his laser to draw everyone's attention that allows the stragglers of Class 1A, led by Ida, to pass the first round. This connection is made by the cut to a smiling Ida reaching down to lend a hand. This shot seems to be taken from the second phase of the exams, where the students have to rush back into the wreckage of the arena to rescue a bunch of fake civilians. Following this, we cut to Uraraka, who looks just way too goddamn cute, although it doesn't really say that much about her character on its own. At a stretch, I'd say that these two shots together could show the lesson that Deku and Co. learn early in their rescue efforts, that part of their job as heroes is to reassure victims in a crisis in addition to keeping them safe, but yeah, that's a stretch. Moving on, we see and hear, because the timing of this is really great, the song title over a cute shot of Joke beckoning across the stands to Aizawa, who is having none of her shit. There's no hidden meaning here, but their dynamic is really fun and adorable. Next, we see a less cute shot of Shigaraki sitting on a creepy throne of hands with Toga tearing through the curtains around them to walk out into the world. This is a cover shot taken straight from chapter 114 of the manga, where it's revealed that Toga was impersonating Kami all along, hence why she's shown striking out on her own from the rest of the villains. Obviously, this is a wider picture than a manga cover, so they balance out the image by putting Twice beside Shigaraki on the right of the screen. As for why Twice is here, it's probably because he gets his own standalone chapter later on that will presumably become an episode in this core. After this, we cut to a stunning action shot of Deku dodging a hail of the orange balls used to score points in the exams. Again, there's no real hidden meaning here, but damn, that is some nice Sakuga. It's not often that you get to see background art as detailed as this being fully animated in a 3D tracking shot. Most shows would just use CGI. The focus on Deku's eyes tracking a ball as it zips past him makes for a solid match cut with this shot of Endeavor, while also highlighting a difference between them. While Deku is focused on his immediate surroundings, Endeavor is looking far off into the distance at the object of his hatred, All Might. And the following shot of Todoroki making the same expression shows that despite how far he's come, he has the same problem of fixating on what he hates. Now, he might be focusing his hatred on his dad rather than All Might, but he still has the same cold, distant eyes of someone too preoccupied and angry to really notice what's going on around him. An attitude that causes Inasa to develop a grudge against him and costs him dearly in the second phase of the exam. Speaking of, next we see the menacing-looking hero Gang Orca and his henchmen fire off a volley with their cement guns as they play the role of mock villains who the students must fend off in the second phase of the exam. The cement pellets seem to have been moving a bit too fast and painted a bit too white, which is why this scene has been noticeably dimmed compared to other action sequences. The bright, rapidly moving pellets could maybe create a flashing strobe effect on a TV, and it's common practice for broadcasters to dim scenes like this just in case they could trigger a photosensitive seizure. From what I can tell, this seems to be because of the infamous incident back in 1997 where a violent flashing animation in the Pokemon episode Cyber Soldier Porygon induced seizures across Japan and put at least 150 children in the hospital. I don't know why I sung that. While that was a dark day for anime, it's led to many more dark days thanks to the overkill response from many broadcasters and regulators. Still, while it does kinda ruin the shot a little, I guess this is one of those better safe than sorry deals, and a good way of pushing fans to buy the Blu-rays if you want to get cynical. After this, we're shown Todoroki and Bakugo dodging the cement bullets and launching a counterattack in another beautiful but dim Sakuga shot that doesn't have much extra meaning and doesn't even really reflect any action scenes from the story, and the lights come back up as we zoom in on Bakugo's eye, showing us what's on his mind. He's shown standing, looking dumbfounded in a white void, a shot that's reminiscent of his reaction to seeing All Might's true form and realizing the connection between his idol and his rival, Deku. A revelation that weighs heavy on him during this season and sets up some good stuff later on. The next shot shows the image of All Might that he's been chasing moving further away and fading into the background. Yet, in the long shadow that the greatest hero casts, we see two new heroes standing as equals. This shot cements a vital aspect of Bakugo's character that's been kind of in question up to now. that, like Deku, he aspires to be the next All Might, and despite not having one for all, he can still come into his own as a successor to the ideal that the symbol of peace represented. The last action shot of the OP shows us Deku's side of the struggle with losing All Might. His eyes are fixed on that same image, just as they have been through all of the past OPs. But we see it move out of his sight as he launches a shoot-style kick so powerful that it dims the screen again, probably because of the bright red on his belt, which is a dangerous color for seizures, and when we return to his face, he's noticeably calmer and more composed. Plus, All Might is nowhere in view. By developing his own fighting style, Deku is beginning to move on and become his own hero, echoing what we see at the start of the OP. So, like all of the other openings, this one is bookended by All Might and Deku's relationship, just shown in a very different way. And though we make the transition to it with a kick instead of a punch now, like the other openings, we end on a group shot of Class 1A, this time sitting on the rubble of the exam arena. The characters are all seated haphazardly and gazing wistfully in different directions, though their groupings and what they're looking at doesn't seem to have any significance beyond being visually appealing. The two exceptions to this are Todoroki and Bakugo, the two failures, who both have their backs turned as they did in that first shot. There is something else that I really like about this shot, but I just can't put my finger on it. Okay, I'll stop being coy. The way that they use Tooru to give this scene extra depth without getting in the way of the other characters is friggin' brilliant. Maybe somebody at Studio Bones has been watching my videos and realized that they should put her shoes and gloves on in more of the shots that she's in, so that all of the great character animation they do with her doesn't go unnoticed. Some people have suggested that this might foreshadow that Tooru is the UA traitor, but while I won't discount that possibility, the traitor's identity hasn't even been revealed in the manga yet, and I think this is just a case of the animators having fun, which honestly describes a fair bit of this OP. A lot of the action scenes and character moments are just fun without having much in the way of additional meaning. And while there are some strong moments and clever metaphors at play here, overall it's not quite of the same caliber as Odd Future. But then that makes sense, since this arc serves as a bit of a breather from the heavy plot revelations of the training camp and hideout raid arcs that preceded it, and is thus a bit lighter on story details for the OP to show. I do kinda wish that they'd hinted more at the final battle of the season, but at the same time, I'm kinda glad that that great moment will come as a surprise to viewers unfamiliar with the manga. Speaking of surprises, there are few surprises quite as nice as getting a Loot Anime crate in the mail. Loot Anime is a subscription service that sends a carefully selected surprise assortment of anime and manga merch straight to your door every month, including t-shirts, manga volumes, pillows, and other cool exclusive gear. Each crate is valued at over $60, but comes to you for just $28.95 a month, or even cheaper if you go to lootcrate.com/basement and sign up with the promo code BASEMENT for a 10% discount on your order. Next month's Defend Crate will bring with it an assortment of goodies from Evangelion, Astro Boy, Space Dandy, and Sword Art Online. And every month after that comes with new awesome items, like this Pop Team Epic shirt. So if you don't want to miss out on all these cool anime collectibles, head to lootcrate.com/basement to sign up and get yours today. But before you go, since Hiroaka is going to be going away for the next little while, let me know in the comments below what other series OPs from this year or past years you'd like to see me cover. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button. I'm Geoff Thew, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.